What did you love when you were younger? For me, I really admired skateboarding. I thought it was so cool, but when I tried it, I just had no coordination with it. And I had friends that would skateboard and I would just watch in awe. Cut to 17 years later, I did a skateboarding challenge on this channel where I tried to learn how to ollie, drop in, kickflip, and grind all within a month. And while I didn't nail the grind, I learned a lot of the basics of skateboarding and had an amazing time. It was super rewarding. And what blew me away was how popular this video became. It now has over 600,000 views on YouTube and it's still getting views every single day. But as time went on, I did a lot of other challenges, as you might have seen on this channel. And so my skateboard was just slowly gathering dust in the cupboard, being unused. So now, exactly 1 year later, I'm jumping back on the skateboard, and this month my challenge is to learn a 360 flip. A 360 flip to me is one of the most beautiful tricks on a skateboard. There's just so much going on, there's so much movement, and it seems crazy that I might be able to land it in a month. And realistically, it's February, so it's not quite 30 days, it's 28 days. And actually, I kind of took the first few days off this month. So realistically, it's 23 days. Can I learn how to do a 360 flip in just 23 days? Let's give it a go. It is a new month, and that means a new challenge. And my goal is going back on the skateboard to learn a 360 flip. Of course, I've got none other than Ben coming over to give me some lessons this month. I'm super nervous for this challenge. I think that it's one of the hardest challenges that I've done with a very short time frame. It's February, which means I've only got 28 days, and it's already the 5th, and I haven't got onto a skateboard. So I've got very limited time. I'm gonna put on some shoes and socks and see what I've currently got in terms of my skateboarding skills. Let's give it a go. That wasn't smart. I need to find some shoes. It's been 1 year and 1 month since my skateboarding challenge. This is my first ollie back. Just nail it right from the start, baby. Ugh. Oh! Now I'm gonna go for a pump shove it. It's a 180. Ugh. Can I kickflip? First kickflip back in 1 year and 1 month since I landed it. I remember what to do. Would love a kickflip. If I could land a kickflip tonight, that would be huge for my confidence. I forgot how tiring skateboarding is. I've been skating for like 7 minutes. It says on the camera. It's like 30 degrees right now. So one of the first challenges was to land a varial flip, which is a 180 flip. Although the motion's not quite the same, it got me comfortable with spinning the board and trying to get a flicking motion with my front foot to get the flip. And that was a really good progression for me. And so for the first lesson, that's really what we focused on.
Yeah, back foot, than you would with a traditional kick flip or ollie. That was good. Flick with that back foot. As soon as I'm coming in and that kind of contact is made, flicking straight through, and then coming through on top of the board, straight through that nose. That front foot's still coming forwards, so the board's rotating that way. It evens itself out through the rotation. You can get your feet back on top of it and land through. Oh yeah, that's a good frame element. Oh yeah!
After a really long session, I even managed to land a varial flip on my first day. Even though it wasn't the cleanest varial flip in the world, I still was very excited to go, wow, I'm actually progressing. And maybe there's a chance I'm gonna do this crazy 360 flip after all. So before I get into how I actually progressed with a 360 flip, I thought it'd be really cool to talk about the history of this trick. How did this even come to be in existence? The trick has been credited to a guy called Rodney Mullen, who invented the trick in 1983. And if you've never heard about this guy, he is just a living legend when it comes to skateboarding. He's called the godfather of street skateboarding. Rodney Mullen's story was he was a young guy and he got really interested in skateboarding, practicing hours and hours and hours before it was really a popular sport. And at 14, he won his first world championship for freestyle skateboarding.
When you see a kid riding this high, you can't imagine how skateboarding could get any better. That is, until you meet Rodney Mullen, the 1982 freestyle skateboarding champion.
He's credited for inventing almost every trick. The ollie, the kickflip, the heel flip, the impossible, the 360 flip, and so much more. He just was so inventive when it came to skateboarding and brought so much life into this sport. And it really goes to show that if you really are passionate about something and love it, and really take the time to master it, so much opportunity can come from that. He's a really successful entrepreneur, he's had an amazing career, and he's a hero and inspiration to so many people around the world. So what is actually going on with a 360 flip? Your back foot's kind of like this, with your toes over the tail of the board, and it's kind of like gripping the tail so that when you're popping, you can flick it backwards and you're creating a popping and turning motion. At the same time, your front foot is kind of lightly kicking out in the direction that you know it's going to turn. So it's kind of like you're doing a scissoring action in the air. Your back foot's going really fast backwards, creating this scoop, and your front foot's kicking out, but not too much. So it kind of looks like that. The axis that the board's rotating is right around here as well. So you really need to be scooping low, kicking, and that creates this 360 flip effect. And then at the same time, what's really important with a 360 flip is where you weight your body, because you need to be preparing to land it. So I need to be ready to figure out where it's gonna go, jump on where I think it's gonna go, while doing all of these micro nuanced movements with your feet while you're in midair. So there's a lot going on. It's pretty crazy. But that is kind of the mechanics of the 360 flip. We'd kind of moved past varial flips, and the next idea was how do you get the board to spin a full 360? And this just felt impossible to me. I thought maybe my body's too long or lanky, or I'm not flexible enough, or something. It just didn't feel like I could actually get the board to rotate that much using my feet. And one of the big learning lessons for me was to actually lower the axis of where you're trying to rotate the board. So really try to push as if you're trying to rotate it near the bottom of the board as opposed to the middle of the board. And so the goal of this session was really learning about the 360 shove it. So that's like a 360 flip without the flip. And after a lot of practice, I started getting close to landing them, and I actually landed a couple of kind of sketchy 360 shove-its as well on my first day of going for the trick. And so, again, my mind was a little bit blown. I really didn't feel like I could get even close at the start of the session. And to progress so much that I could even get my feet on the board after doing a 360, that was really crazy to me. And so I was really excited about my progress. Although the jump from this movement and the varial flip to the 360 flip is a big jump. So I still had a lot of work to do. Knowing that I had a deadline, the goal was just to try to land a 360 flip, and I wanted to practice that trick as much as possible. There's so many little nuances to the trick, like keeping the board level as you're bobbing down, or figuring out where your back foot should be, or figuring out where your front foot needs to kick and how much to kick and what angle to kick. Even getting my shoes comfortable so that they were tight enough and that they were flat enough that they would work for a trick like this. I was having so much difficulty with the trick, and it was just practicing, sweating profusely because this is really tiring. There was a few techniques that I used. One of them was actually recording my attempts in slow motion and then going over with my coach, looking at my trick and version in slow motion versus his trick in slow motion, and trying to pick out the subtle nuances and differences of what I was doing wrong and what he was doing differently. And that was really good to get feedback to go, oh, his foot's positioned like this, oh, he's jumping a little bit higher. Another thing was just trying to get the board to do the motion. So not worrying about completing all of the steps at once, but just trying to break it down into a progression. So do the trick, but jump backwards, and then do the trick and try to land it with one foot. And that became my big challenge for the next few lessons, is really trying to get a 360 flip and just land one foot on the actual board. I've just tried time and time again, but the board would just go in different directions. And even if I could get a really good flipping motion, I couldn't figure out to get a good flipping motion and jump in the place where I thought the skateboard was going to be. And that was one of the biggest challenges that I had. I started to feel like the trick was just too hard and that I was never going to get it. And I was a little bit down on the challenge and just thinking, I'm over this, I'm not gonna get it. And I felt like I was gonna let down my subscribers.
Oh, yeah, that's how I did it. Yeah, that was sick. Front foot was really good on that one, man.
It was amazing having someone like Ben, my coach, just keep me motivated, keep me on track, and keep me progressing and having that feeling of momentum. And so important when you're doing a challenge to have that feeling of momentum. And it's inevitable that you're going to go through a period of plateauing. You're not going to see any progress. You might even go backwards one week, and it can be so frustrating. But if you have a vision, and if you have a strong why, and if you have someone that can help you along in that journey, it just makes it so much easier. So I'm really thankful for all the pep talks that Ben gave me along the way.
Skateboard is your bitch, 100%. Skateboard is your bitch, and you're gonna make it your bitch and show it is your bitch. That's how it goes down. Dude, that was so sick.
Finally, after practicing enough, I just had this thing click in my brain. I started to have amazingly close attempts, and there was just something different about the way that I was positioning my feet. Just something clicked, and it was really exciting. And in that little moment, I started to have close attempt, and then finally I had this amazing attempt. So that brings me to the end of this month. And although I didn't land the 360 flip, I loved getting back on the skateboard. I really enjoyed the progress that I made and that feeling of getting so close. And I want to give a shout out to my coach, Ben. I'm going to put his Instagram handle in the description below if you want to get some coaching from him if you're in Melbourne as well, or you want to chat to him about Skype lessons. I'm sure he'll be available and love it. And I really want to give him a shout out for all of the help that he gave me across the month. So that brings me to next month, where I'm going to be doing a memory challenge. So imagine trying to memorize like 50 pieces of information really quickly, like a full deck of cards, the exact order in only a few minutes. Sounds crazy, but I've got one of the Australian memory champions coming to teach me some of the tricks and tools that these people use to memorize crazy amounts of data. It's going to be a really exciting challenge. So that's next month. If you want to check that out, make sure you're subscribed. If you like what I'm doing, I'd love for you to leave a comment and like the video. I really just love seeing the comments that you guys leave. And as always, happy learning.